Hello everyone, Just Podcast TV is here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new contents.
Episode 236. No one else had the right. After the helicopter landed on the island, two luxury Rolls-Royce cars drove over. The driver who drove over first was a bit out of hand. He even parked his car crookedly. However, after getting out of the car, everyone's eyes lit up. In the next moment, the beautiful girl ran over. This girl was naturally Xena. "Brother, you're back!" Xena said happily. Zack also rubbed Xena's head happily and then said to her, "Louis is here. Why aren't you greeting him?" Xena giggled and came to Louis's front. She held his hand and kissed his face, leaving a pink lipstick mark. "Louis, I love you. I dream of you every night. Every morning when I wake up, my pillow is full of tears." Louis was so sick of Xena that he did not know what to say. "You're the only one with a sweet mouth. The one who sent me away was you. You cried and cried, saying that the one who missed me was also you. In the end, you greeted your brother as soon as you met him. You didn't even look at my face." "Oh no." Seeing that Xena was getting tired of it again, Louis quickly waved his hand. Okay. I'm impressed. There are so many people here." Only then did Xena smile and greet everyone. She had moved closer to Tess and Kate. After looking left and right, Xena hugged Kate's arm. "You must be my sister-in-law. My brother told me about you. He said that you are beautiful and virtuous, and that you are very helpful in his career." Kate smiled and said, "How can it be so good? But your brother often told me about you. He said that you are very beautiful, and that you are the most beautiful girl in the world. Then, you are very sensible, and have been silently helping him." Zack obviously could not tell Kate that Xena was the most beautiful girl in the world. This sentence was added by Kate herself. The two of them held hands, and excitedly walked towards the guest car. Tess was a little embarrassed. She did not understand why Xena would recognize Zack's woman between her and Kate. Could it be that her appearance was only so much inferior to Kate's? Sitting in an extremely luxurious custom-made Rolls-Royce with a long Rolls-Royce logo on it, looking at the scenery on the island in the guest car, Lance's heart was truly in turmoil. Holding his girlfriend Marie's hand, he whispered, "If I had known that Zack was such a stubborn person, I wouldn't have fought with him. I originally thought that he was at the same level as me, to practice and temper himself. But who knew that he would treat me as a game?" Maria saw Lance so disappointed for the first time, so she comforted him. "It doesn't matter. You are already very good. You have gained his recognition. At least, you have become his friend. If this wasn't the case, he wouldn't let you come to his house for New Year's, would he? Anyway, I won't invite anyone other than my friend to my house." Lance had thought that Marie's words made sense just now. Indeed, if he was not strong enough, Zack would not swallow his company and invite him to his house for the New Year. Others did not have the qualifications. When he thought of this, he felt a little better. In the other car, Kendrick also sighed softly with Tess. "My father is still the wisest. Zack is too bullheaded." After the car arrived at their home, everyone rested for a while and took the opportunity to visit Zack's super mansion. Donnie and the other two heard that Mason was on the island, so they rushed over to report to their boss. Donovan also quickly followed. Although he knew Larry and the others, they were not in the same group. According to the classification, Donnie and Donovan were both fighters. Therefore, he followed Donnie and the other to see Mason. Zack took the rest of the people and went to the big tile room to see the old fox. At this time, Quincy was lying on the rocking chair in the courtyard, leisurely fiddling with his pipe. He did not know how many he had, but Zack had already broken two of them, and there were even more of the same model. But just like what Quincy said, with his identity here, whatever he held in his hands would become real no matter where. Therefore, whether it was real or fake was no longer important. After seeing Zack return, a kind smile emerged on Quincy's face. Zach brought Kate up to greet him. Quincy nodded his head in satisfaction. Take a seat! Quickly, take a seat! Each person had a small stool, just like a simple school teacher giving lessons to the children. However, Quincy did not know a few of these children, so Zach introduced them one by one. Quincy nodded, then recruited Larry's children and kindly asked them how old they were. Yes, that's good. Those who can be brought here by little Zach are all good children. A group of people. The small ones were in their 20s, and the big ones were in their 40s. Apart from Lewis, the group of people who were called children were all depressed. However, in Quincy's eyes, they were indeed children. Therefore, he could only smile with them willingly. When he was introduced to Lance, Quincy said with a smile, Lance, your grandfather's name is Andy, right? Lance was stunned. Sir, you know my grandfather? Quincy replied, It's an old history. When I was doing business with Andy, your father wasn't even born yet. Quincy actually got to know the old man that passed away during the new year. This was really unbelievable. But then Lance also remembered something. When I was young, Grandpa once told me that my family's business was supported by someone important. But later on, because of a small dispute in business, he parted ways with that benefactor. Later on, he told me that he regretted making the wrong decision back then and didn't listen to that benefactor. What my grandfather said, it can't be you, right? Quincy smiled and waved his hand. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with business. I still like to believe we were friends in the end. This was undoubtedly a silent agreement. Lance stood up and suddenly kowtowed to Quincy. Sir, my grandfather left a message when he was alive. He let down that friend and let down his trust. Before he left, he felt quite guilty about what had happened. So today, I'll apologize to you on behalf of my grandfather. Get up! Get up! It's not as serious as you think! After persuading Lance to get up, Quincy did not mention what happened back then. When Zach introduced Kendrick, Quincy nodded his head. He also regarded Kendrick as a good child. But other than that, he didn't say anything else. It was normal, let alone Kendrick. Even his grandfather wasn't qualified to come here. Episode 237. Brothers Are Harmonious. There were 2 tables at dinner. Everyone present could be said to be rich and wealthy, and all of them had broad horizons. However, when they arrived at the huge table, they discovered that there were many dishes and food that they had never seen before. After asking Zena, they found out that these dishes were specially cooked by chefs and nutritionists. They were newly developed cuisines. The other table was placed in the ancestral hall of the Marquez family on the island. Those who could make it to this table when Zach was young, his family was flourishing. There was the grandfather, Zach's father, and 3 brothers. Adding Zach and the other brothers, there were a total of 7 people. But now, the number of people who would come to this table was getting less and less. Only Quincy, Kyle, Michael, and Zach were left tonight. After worshiping his ancestors, Quincy said, self-deprecatingly, I, Quincy, have done a great deed. I brought my son and grandson to play at my table. There was no game on the table, only food and wine, but everyone understood that he was referring to the fact that his son did not prosper. 3 generations of people gathered at a table, and it was such a large family. It was indeed a little lonely and pitiful. Michael quickly said, It's all right, grandfather. I'll go back tonight and try my best to get you a great-grandson next year. Quincy nodded happily. All right. Why don't you go back now and do your best? Hurry up! Michael laughed loudly. Ha! That won't do. It's not easy for Zach to come back. The 2 of us need to reminisce about old times. He put his arm around Zach's shoulder and said enthusiastically, Is that right, Brother Zach? Zach smiled even more brightly. Brother Michael is right. We will not return until we are drunk. Michael laughed loudly. and repeatedly said that he was good. It seemed like the relationship between the two brothers was really good. It was just that behind the scenes, not to mention Zach and Michael, even Quincy and Kyle were clear about it. However, no one would say anything about this at the dinner table in the ancestral hall. No matter how ugly the abscess was, at least there was still a layer of smooth skin wrapped around it. If it really broke, then it wouldn't look good. After Quincy raised the wine cup, everyone raised a small cup of wine and emptied one. After saying some words of blessing such as peace in the coming years, family unity, and so on, Quincy called everyone to eat. Kyle's face was always slovenly, appearing to be unhappy. It looked like he was thinking about his wife and child. However, no one mentioned this. As for whether he was thinking about life or death, or about something else, no one knew. Anyway, it was hidden under his disguise. After having dinner in the ancestral hall, it was time for the meeting to end. But before the meeting ended, Quincy suddenly said, "There are only the three of you left in the Marquez family. As for the position of patriarch, naturally, the three of you will be the ones to take over." As soon as he said that, Zach raised his hand. His action of raising his hand was like a primary school student waiting to speak, but it immediately caused Michael's face to change color. Michael felt that even if he wanted to snatch it, he shouldn't snatch it so obviously. But what Zach said after that was greatly out of his expectations. Zach said, "I don't have the ability. I can't even judge a person. I don't have the ability to take over the Marquez family. I give up." Michael was slightly stunned. Then, he said with a smile, "Brother Zach, you drank too much. What nonsense are you spouting? How can you say such unambitious words?" Zach replied in a serious manner, "I'm serious. Doing business is so tiring. Besides, I'm not that kind of person. There should be someone capable to keep me. I just want to enjoy my wealth." Michael was getting happier in his heart. Quincy would definitely not like such a useless person. Just as he was secretly delighted, Kyle also spoke in a muffled voice. "I don't want to accept it either. Whoever wants to accept it, will accept it." This happiness came really suddenly. It could be said to be the best present of the new year. Michael quickly put on an act and said, "Brother Zach, how can you say this? This is our family's duty and responsibility as a descendant of the Marquez family. We have to shoulder the family's honor. No matter how tiring it is, we have to endure it. Grandpa is getting older and older. You don't want to share the heavy responsibility for him, but only want to enjoy life. This is not right." At this moment, Michael had perfectly displayed what it meant to be disappointed in his failure to meet his expectations. However, in his heart, he was almost roaring with joy, as if he was already sitting on the seat of the patriarch. Just as he was about to say something else, Quincy patted his shoulder. Michael was very excited, but his face showed fear and trepidation. "Grandfather, this is what I should do." Quincy nodded. "Then you should work hard and try to shoulder the heavy responsibility for me as soon as possible." With Quincy's words, Michael was even happier in his heart. Wasn't this the same as using him as the next heir? The position of patriarch was now stable. Michael hastily expressed that he wouldn't let Quincy down, but at the same time, he also expressed that all of this was what he should do. "All right, go ahead. Don't forget what you just said. Use all your strength tonight and let me carry my great-grandson next year." Michael laughed loudly. "Ha! All right, grandfather, don't worry. I'll go back and try my best." Michael happily left. However, when he reached the door, he was stopped by Quincy. "Go back and take a look at the history." After instructing him, Quincy was afraid that Michael wouldn't understand, so he said, "Let's pay more attention to the past and make the mistakes and lessons they can teach us." Michael nodded his head vigorously. "Grandfather, don't worry. I understand what you mean. When I go back, I will definitely study hard and become the person who will bring prosperity to the Marquez family. I will take a step further. Quincy turned around and waved his hand with a bitter smile. After Michael left, Kyle stood up and said in a low voice, "Dad, I will go back too." Quincy nodded. After that, only Zach and Quincy were left in the ancestral hall. After Zach helped Quincy with the tobacco pipe and helped him light it, Quincy smacked his lips and said, "Why did you let Michael see the history clearly? He can't understand it at all. Even if I specifically pointed it out, he can't understand it. He still can't understand it." Zach took out a cigarette and lit it up. Then he said, "Grandfather, don't worry. There won't be a ninth son competition. At least, there won't be a blood case." Michael thought that he knew what Quincy meant, but he didn't know that what Quincy wanted now wasn't this, but the stability of the future generations. Zach could see this kind of thing, and so could Kyle. However, he couldn't see Michael, who seemed to be in the limelight. In the old fox's words, "He will never learn how to hide needles from you," Zach said with a smile. "I am not sharp at all. I am just being honest," Quincy sneered. "You are honest and honest. Can you be honest and use money to consolidate a fully armed mercenary? Can you make eye contact with Angela, who is on the Ursa family side? Don't tell me you are thinking of using these people to attack the island." Episode 238, Celebrating. The old fox suddenly changed his attitude. He looked cold, completely different from how he treated Michael. However, Zach didn't care. "I have seen through your mind since you let Mason take over. To tell you the truth, I just want to know what you are thinking. I am not afraid of Michael using these people to attack the island. I have to be on guard against Kyle. Kyle is too patient. Karen and Mansur are at my place now. I can totally guess what happened. He can even bear to raise someone else's flesh and blood for more than 10 years. I have to be wary of this kind of thought. I don't care about the patriarch of the Marquez family or the patriarch of the Marquez family. No matter how I address him, he is just an errand and power. I can reject all of them, but I can't reject my grandfather. I can't use these people. I even hope I can't use them. But if I have to use them one day, I don't want my hands to be empty. I can't even save my grandfather." Quincy frowned and turned to look at Zach. "How can you look at your Kyle like that? He is my son!" Zach smiled and said, "You can forget about it. Mason has a close relationship with me. You gave him to Mason because you were helping me raise those people. If you are really relieved that you can't control your own son, do you still need to leave those people to me?" Quincy looked at Zach for a while and shook his head. He did not say anything else. After a full minute of silence, he muttered, "Little fox!" Zach did not give in. "Old fox." The grandfather and grandson stared at each other for a while, then laughed at the same time. After that, Quincy said, "Actually, I believe your Kyle won't do that, but this is after all your filial piety. So I will let Mason take over for you. So many people, so many equipment, and even Angela. If you don't let Mason take them for you, you will be targeted sooner or later. Little Zach, remember, the cards that can win money on the card table will always be the one in your pocket. If you can't get caught, then you have to be skilled." Zach nodded. "I understand. The reason why I put it on the table is because I want to tell them that I am not interested in the position of patriarch. But if someone dares to touch the heart that I care about, I will beat them up. You're the same as your father. You really didn't follow the wrong person. You two are really worried about me. None of you are filial." From what the old fox said, his father and stepmother were still alive. Zach quickly took this opportunity to make some indirect remarks. "Oh, right, grandfather. I have already taken over the film industry and is currently developing steadily. Lance and Jessica are both strong. The film market will definitely be ours in the future. Look, I have already done it to this extent. Tell me the information on the little golden man first. Zach felt that today was a good day. He was 30 years old, and Quincy was in a good mood. There should be hope. However, he didn't expect that the old fox would actually wave his hand without hesitation. No rush! No rush! Zach was full of hope, but in the end, he was easily shattered by the two old foxes. Then, he wanted to ask again, but was instead chased away by the old fox. After leaving Quincy's courtyard, Zach got along well with Kate and Xena, who were already full. Don't look at the night sky, it's dark everywhere. What's so good about the night sky? After finding everyone on the island cliff, Zach called them down to see something nice. Lance asked, "What's good looking?" Zach pointed to the sky. "I'll bring you guys to set off fireworks. It's New Year's Eve today. How can we not set off fireworks and blow up the sky?" It was just a set of fireworks. There was nothing new about it. Fortunately, there were many people around, so it was not bad to set off some fireworks. Furthermore, everyone thought that with Zach's generosity, he would probably set off hundreds of thousands of fireworks at the same time. Only then would it be considered an explosion in the sky. But in reality, they were wrong. When the two ceremonial cars arrived at the island's armed camp, Zach went straight to the person in charge and ordered a semi-automatic rifle for each person. There was enough ammunition. As long as you don't attack people, you can attack wherever you want. If you're not afraid of getting too tired from walking back, you can blow up these two cars. Everyone was stunned. They knew that he had money, but you can't build it like that. Using a semi-automatic rifle to fight a guest car? Do you have such thoughts? These firecrackers should be even more expensive, right? However, Zach didn't care about that. He pulled Kate with his left hand and Xena with his right. The three of them walked to the anti-air rocket car. Zach then said to Xena, "How many artillery shells are you prepared this year?" Xena laughed maliciously and said, "I spent all the 50 million you gave me. Angela has already sent it over." Following her finger, Zach saw a pile of rocket boxes by the side. There were probably hundreds of boxes. Kate looked at the siblings in a daze and asked in surprise, "Is this what you guys do every year? During the New Year?"